One.
Lamis, FoodSwap, the first food matchmaker. Can you talk to us a bit about how this idea even came to you?
This idea came through from a very personal pain. I have always been following a macro diet throughout my university days, and I was participating in a lot of athletic competitions. And so I had to follow a very strict macro diet whenever I can. And so whenever I went outside with my friends and socialize and going out with restaurants, I find it very difficult for me to find items that are matching my dietary preferences and macros. So that made me think like I need to always have, a calorie count somewhere. And I can't go to restaurants that do not offer the macros information. And I thought, what if I just make it a little easier, have a better UI, have a good UX, and everyone who is following whatever diet they're on, they can go to a restaurant and enjoy a good meal without stressing too much because the stress is the thing that we really focus on solving here at FoodSwap.
Lamis, can you talk to us a bit about what does a macro diet really mean? Is it like what kind of nutrients does that food have? Is that what it means?
So mine, this was the first version that was born in New York City almost 7 years ago in 2018. Okay. And the macros diet is basically, how many proteins and carbs and fats are in a specific dish. So for example, let's say this dish has 500 calories, but it actually has 50 grams of protein or 20 grams of carbs. So this is what it is.
So do you feel like the idea is to make picking food easier or just making the right kind of food available, or is it like a mix of both?
It is providing more information to people for them to make the right decision for themselves, to really empower them to make the right decision for whatever diet they're following, or even if they're not following, they are picky about not having tomatoes in their food, for example. So they need to have that option of having that transparency and knowing that there is tomatoes in that food or not. Yeah.
So talk to us a bit about how the app actually works. So if I log in and I start putting my own preferences and it's going to suggest different foods.
Well, it keeps on changing based on the the type of orders that you have been doing over time to time, and it's an experience that you only get to experience at the moment in restaurants. So once you visit a restaurant, you scan the QR code, you view the menu, you view the menu based on your own preferences. Let's say, for example, I want to view my menu to be only gluten-free options. So you only see gluten-free options available for you.
You know, Lamis, whenever I visit the UAE, someone once told me that there's an app for everything. And I didn't believe it until I actually went there. But it's true. Like people do everything on different apps. So do you feel like it was easy for people in the country to accept another app for yet another purpose?
Honestly, Antoine, I think people are very different, and people are, we come from all walks of life, and we have different needs. And one thing that really Food Swap stands for is food inclusivity. So we really make sure that, when someone is ordering something, not because they have an allergy, they have to put the entire table on hold because this is what keeps a lot of the operations, holding up because I don't need to tell everyone at the table that I have an allergy from a shellfish, And that is a very tiny thing when I can just put it as a comment, send it to the waiter, and I can order something else, for example. And once the waiters see it, they're like, "Oh, we have a shellfish. Let me just, do the math and see if we even offer that or not." But not every, but it just makes a scene when people have certain questions or something. It sometimes creates a scene in the restaurant that you don't need it as a restaurant manager to see it. You want to make things that operations are happening seamlessly, everyone enjoying their food, everyone's happy. So this is what we care about. We really care about the guest experience. It is the core functionality and being food inclusive at FoodSwap.
I like that. And you talk about the experience. And when we talk about experience, it means that you get feedback along the way. So my question to you is, since you launched, did you have to iterate? Did you have to change a couple of things because some people liked or disliked some aspects of the app? Was that easy to do? And how did you take that feedback? Is it always welcome? Is it sometimes tough to hear? Tell me about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a product manager. I before working or before developing FoodSwap, I've been a product manager for nearly 7 years. So I've worked in multiple industries, and I was also working in one of the biggest food delivery applications in the GCC. So I really understand how to build products based on people's feedback and comments and experiences. And this is what we actually, as product managers, take the feedback and then we prioritize it based on the importance of having it there. Because at the end of the day, you will receive comments and feedback almost every single day. Like, for example, I actually had a conversation with a restaurant today, and they were telling me, can we customize the app so that we can add this feature for the waiter? And I was like, yeah, if you guys want, why not, right? As long as it's simple because it's simple for me to build it. It's just a matter of like plug and play, for example. But if it's a big feature, I'd be like, let me see if other restaurants are telling me the same. If more than one people are telling me the same comment, I would take that into consideration. Then I would, work on it with my team. But not only that, it's also about seeing whether this really resonates with the vision of FoodSwap. So not, for example, someone might think like, oh, we want to build, I don't know, something that they saw in an application and they want to have it on FoodSwap. I usually take that into consideration as a feedback, but not necessarily really do it because I always go back to the question like, are we trying to solve the real problem here? Once we solve the real problem, we can go into these nice to have things.
And is it is it difficult as someone with a product manager background to be the founder of a tech company? Do you feel like there's some barriers to it, or as long as you have the vision, it doesn't really matter who's executing the code?
There is a different definition for a product manager, which is, a product owner or a CEO of the product, right? So it really means that when I worked as a product manager on all of my previous companies, I was the one on the ground actually taking feedback. I sometimes there was actually a time when I went and delivered food literally to the doorsteps of the person who ordered the food. So I was like, "Hey, you ordered the food, and how did you like the experience? You didn't like that experience?" And I was talking to them, and they were like, it's just dinner time and we're not ready to have a conversation. So I was like, okay, cool. Thank you guys. Well, appreciate it and hope you enjoy your dinner. And then I had to leave. Um, so yes, I would definitely say that being a product manager comes with a lot of privileges because I really understand the entire life cycle of the customer and I always build my product to be customer centric. And if it is not, I'm always questioning it. Like I'm always questioning it. Does it make sense? Does it feel very simple? Is it UX friendly? Is it not? Like, what do I need to do? And I always try to send it to, my friends, my advisors before we go live. And I'm very happy to say that we have been receiving a lot of positive feedback from hundreds of registered users that tried our application and said, we really think that you will become the next big thing. So it's just about taking the smaller steps and listening to that feedback. And when there is a high demand for our application, I really do not see anything that's stopping us.
Mm. Oh, that's amazing. That's the right mentality to have. But you know what? I want to take a step back. Before you actually went ahead and said, you know what, I want to build this company, what did it take for you to go all in? Like, it's fine. We all get nice ideas. But what was it that was like, you know what? I want to build this. I'm sure this is gonna work, and I want to spend years of my life building this. What does it take to take that leap?
Takes courage for sure. You really need to be a very courageous person, and you need to have calculated risks to understand that, in the world of, having a business, things can go up and down. And are you the person that has that resilience? So you need to have resilience and courage, as well as someone who is willing to take the risks as they are. And so I think this really took me a lot of time and years for me to polish that personality with the right type of tests that I believe God has tested me with, and the experiences I got. And the first time I initiated FoodSwap, as I mentioned, it's 7 years ago in New York. So I started it. I ended it because I was in the middle of COVID, but also because I was at the transitional period of my life where I was transitioning from being someone who's working in part-time jobs as a product manager and as a consultant and didn't know what to do, to actually experiencing the world of corporate company and building a food tech product from the ground up in one of the leading companies here in the UAE. So all of those experiences shaped me. And then I decided that, I don't think I will ever be that young again, and I do have some savings, and I think I have the skills. I'm very resourceful, and I don't think there is anything for me to wait for. I was just like, I don't know what I'm waiting for. And I made up my decision. It was actually Jitix, I believe, when I went to Jitix in 2024, was a pivotal time because I went to Jitix and I walked across, going to each and every startup in the field of tech, AI, food tech within my domain, just to understand, or even health tech, just trying to find something similar to my problem. I was like, if there isn't one company that is solving my problem, I will just leave it. But when I didn't find, I was like, hey, I don't think so. So even when people come to me today and they're like, oh, there's actually an app for that, I was like, oh, I don't think so because, I did my research, not even the UAE, not even GCC, not even international. Yes, there are some features that we do have that other companies do provide as well, but we are very unique in the problem that we are solving. So the problem that we're solving is very clear, and this is our main core of our focus.
Mm. Yeah, well, I can hear the passion, Lamis. I feel the it's now or never. I gotta do, what I really want to do. So
Yeah, there's
that's
one thing I wanted to add actually. Sorry to cut you off, but it's also the timing of being here in the UAE, because a lot of the restaurants and diners have also, I mean, there's a lot that we talk about, and there's a lot to cover, and that's probably going to be like a different maybe session. But when all these restaurants, there's these food delivery companies and a lot of these tech companies that are taking high percentages of the profits of those restaurants, it leaves the restaurants with not even the right information for them to target their audience. And so this is where I saw the potential of FoodSwap becoming a resource for restaurant managers to really understand their guests and offer them a better experience. So I think this is something that is on high demand here right now.
so. I guess I want to take a turn here and ask you, what has been the biggest lesson learned? You've been doing this for almost a year now, and
Yeah.
there's probably ups and downs. What do you think was the biggest lesson learned?
Uh, Trusting my instincts in making decisions has been very helpful. Whenever I felt like something was off, whether it is in relationships with my stakeholders or, potential stakeholders, it was always right. So I always had to make that difficult decision of, I think it's better to part off, for example, or with the people that I'm hiring, for example. So always I relied on not only knowledge and facts, but relying also on my instinct, which has been so far helping me. And I think you develop that with experience and dealing with a lot of people. And because I'm a very social person and I have, a huge network here in the UAE, it really gives me potential to work with different personalities. And this really continues to shapes me. And I think I think there's always lessons learned, whether it's in product, in business, in finance. And I think the other lesson that I want to share is that um, I became more vulnerable into learning. So I became more open to learning things that I didn't know that I need to learn. And I'm very happy. Like I become really excited when I learned how to do something. So yeah, that makes me excited.
You mean you were more eager to learn new things?
Yeah, yeah, because like in the startup world, nothing is stopping me. Like I can't be like, oh, I have to speak to my manager and telling them like, oh, I would love to work on this part of the project, but they're like, oh, but this is what you're assigned to. You can only do that, for example, next year. But like, no, but I want to try it, right? So this is what I feel like trying things, exploring, learning, doing things with my hands, being very hands-on has been super, super helpful.
Let me say it was great talking to you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for doing this.
Yeah, thank you so much, Antoine. Appreciate it.